I'm not making any money. This is for educational purposes only. Fair use. Fair use. Yeah. Barakatah Yahawah. Barakatah Yahawashi. I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahawah, BaHaSham, Yahawashi, BaHaSham, Rawchaa QaDash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well, to the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom, to the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold, Shalom, to sisters yahawah who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This your brother Aram Yahawah with the lesson.
What's up, guys? Checking in from the cold mountains of Appalachia. And we've got some big time news going down here with silver. Silver, along with a lot of the other precious metals, man, they're set to keep on exploding. If you haven't noticed, they've been rising. But silver in particular, there are applications with technology, military, all types of different things that silver is going to be used for from here on. Now, they've known about this for some time, and we've been pushing for silver for over a decade, man. Back when it was like below $15. We're now talking like it's over 60. Just clipped 64 and it pulled back. The motto, as always, is buy the dip and get in. Hopefully you're in a state that has done away with taxes on gold and silver. Here's the big thing. You need to get ready and prepare for this massive explosion, or you're going to miss an opportunity, like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It's already been happening, but there's going to be a parabolic explosion take place. And the reason is because of technology. There's going to be a massive shift here. And Samsung, along with others, has already announced that they are moving toward a brand new battery, a solid-state battery. It's beyond lithium. With lithium, there's all kinds of issues to where it can have buildup over time and then lead to explosions through these little things called dendrites. They found only...
So I'm going to expose the silver bomb that Samsung just dropped on the global supply chain. I'm going to walk you through the chemistry of the silver carbon anode. I am going to do the math that the IEA refuses to publish. The math that proves there isn't enough silver on Earth to electrify the fleet using this technology. And I am going to show you why Friday's price drop to $62 wasn't a crash. It was the last chance you will ever have to buy silver before the auto industry realizes they have made a fatal calculation. The banks are playing a paper game. Samsung is playing a physics game. Physics always wins. This is the story of the silver carbon revolution. To understand why this news is an extinction level event for silver supply, you have to understand a little bit of chemistry. Don't worry, I'll keep it simple. For 30 years, the world has run on lithium-ion batteries. Your phone, your laptop, the Tesla Model Y in your driveway, they all use liquid electrolyte lithium-ion batteries. They're great, but they have a fatal flaw. It's called the dendrite. When you charge a lithium battery fast, or when you charge it too many times, the lithium ions form these little needle-like crystals called dendrites. They grow like jagged roots inside the battery. Eventually, they pierce the separator, the wall between the anode and the cathode. When that happens, boom, short circuit, thermal runaway, fire. This is why EVs take 45 minutes to charge. You have to charge them slowly to prevent dendrites. This is why they catch fire. This is why they lose range in the winter. The holy grail has always been the solid-state battery. A battery with no liquid, no fire risk, instant charging, double the range. Every company from Toyota to Volkswagen has been promising this for a decade, but they all failed. Why? Because they couldn't stop the dendrites from forming on the anode. Graphite anodes didn't work. Silicon anodes expanded too much. Pure lithium metal anodes were too unstable. Then, the researchers at Samsung SDI found the solution. They discovered that one specific element, when applied as a nanocomposite layer, completely solved the problem. It allowed the lithium ions to move freely, but it stopped the dendrites cold. It was stable. It was conductive. It was perfect. That element is silver, specifically a silver carbon nanocomposite layer. This isn't a theory, this is published science. Samsung's prototype cells use a thin layer of silver mixed with carbon to regulate the deposition of lithium. The silver acts as a host for the lithium ions. It dissolves them evenly, preventing the spikes from forming. This allows the battery to be smaller, lighter, faster, and safer. But there is a catch, a massive catch. To make this battery work, you need silver, and you don't need micrograms of it, you need grams of it. For the first time in history, silver is not just being used for its conductivity, it is being used as an active material in the electrochemical storage process. It is becoming part of the battery's DNA, and the auto industry is about to scale this technology to millions of cars. Do you see the problem yet? You might be thinking, okay, so they use a little silver, so what? Cars already use silver. Let's context this. Right now, a standard combustion car uses about 15 to 20 grams of silver. It's in the window switches, the seat motors, the defrosters, the ECU. An electric vehicle uses more, about 30 to 50 grams. It's in the inverters, the battery management system, the high voltage cables. This EV bump is already draining the market. It's part of the reason we have a 1.1 billion ounce deficit. But the solid state battery changes the math entirely. We aren't talking about switches anymore. We are talking about coating the anode of every single cell in a 1,000 pound battery pack. Early estimates from the Samsung papers suggest the silver loading could be anywhere from 5 grams to 10 grams per kilogram of anode material. Some aggressive estimates suggest it could be as high as 0.5 to 1 kilogram of silver per vehicle for high performance, long range packs. Let's be conservative, extremely conservative. Let's assume it adds just 50 grams of silver per car. That brings the total silver per EV to roughly 100 grams. There are 90 million cars produced globally every year. If just 10% of them switch to solid-state batteries, that is 9 million cars. 9 million cars times 100 grams is 900 million grams. That is roughly 29 million ounces of new silver demand. That sounds manageable, right? But that's at 10% adoption with conservative numbers. What if it's 50% adoption? What if the silver loading is actually 200 grams per car? If Toyota, Samsung, and Volkswagen hit their targets of mass-producing solid-state EVs by 2027, 2028, we could see automotive demand for silver jump from 90 million ounces a year to 200 or 300 million ounces a year. Where does that 200 million ounces come from? Does it come from the COMEX? The COMEX only has 30 million ounces left and registered. Does it come from the miners? Global mining is flat at 830 million ounces. This single technology, the silver carbon anode, has the potential to consume 25% to 35% of the entire global mine supply, just for car batteries. That leaves 0 silver for solar panels, 0 silver for electronics, 0 silver for jewelry, 0 silver for you. And Samsung just confirmed they are building the pilot line. The timeline has accelerated. This isn't a 2035 story. This is a right now story. While the banks were smashing the price to $61.50 on Friday, Samsung procurement officers were likely locking in long-term supply contracts with miners. They know the math. They know that if they don't secure the silver, their billion-dollar battery factories are worthless. This shift represents a fundamental change in the nature of demand. In the past, silver was an industrial spice. You sprinkled a little bit on a circuit board. You put a tiny bit in a light switch. Because the amount was so small, the price didn't matter. If silver went from $20 to $100, the cost of the iPhone only went up by 50 cents. Apple didn't care. But with solid-state batteries, silver becomes structural. It becomes a major line item in the bill of materials. If a battery pack requires 500 grams of silver, at $60 an ounce, that's $1,000 worth of silver in every car. At $100 an ounce, that's $1,600. This terrifies the auto manufacturers. They operate on razor-thin margins. A $600 cost increase per vehicle destroys their profit. So, what is their strategy? Thrifting. They will try to use less silver. They will try to engineer it out. They will try to use silver-coated carbon instead of pure silver powder. But here's the problem. Chemistry is stubborn. You cannot cheat the electron. If you reduce the silver, the dendrites come back. If the dendrites come back, the car catches fire. Would you buy a Silverlight battery if you knew it had a 5% chance of exploding in your garage? No. Samsung knows this. Toyota knows this. They cannot thrift the silver out without sacrificing safety. So they're stuck. They're hostage to the periodic table. This makes the demand inelastic. We talked about this with solar panels. Now we are seeing it with EVs. Two massive global industries, energy and transportation, are simultaneously pivoting to technologies that require massive amounts of silver. And they are colliding with a supply chain that has been starved of capital for a decade. Friday's price drop to $61.50 is laughable in this context. We are looking at a future where silver is as critical to the economy as oil. Imagine if the world ran out of oil and the price dropped to $2. Would you panic, sell your gas, or would you fill up every tank you own? Why aren't you hearing about this on CNBC? Why is Bloomberg talking about lithium oversupply but ignoring the silver squeeze? Because the narrative hasn't caught up to the lab. Wall Street analysts are lazy. They look at spreadsheets from 2020. They assume EVs equal lithium plus nickel. They treat silver as a legacy metal used in mirrors and spoons. They don't read the Samsung SDI technical white papers. They don't look at the patent filings from QuantumScape and Toyota. If they did, they would see the word ag appearing over and over again. This information asymmetry is your edge. Right now, on this Saturday morning, the market is mispricing silver because it thinks demand is linear. It thinks demand will grow 2% a year. It doesn't see the step function change that solid-state batteries represent. The same thing happened with palladium in the early 2000s. Auto companies switched to palladium for catalytic converters. Nobody paid attention. Then suddenly demand exploded. Palladium went from $200 to $3,000. The analysts were 10 years late. We are seeing the exact same setup with silver. The silver bomb has been detonated in the R&D labs. The shockwave hasn't hit the price chart yet, but it's coming. When Samsung officially launches the first mass market car with this battery, when they publish the specs and the world realizes there are 20 ounces of silver in a single luxury sedan, the panic buying won't come from Reddit. It will come from Ford, GM, and BMW. And they won't be buying at $61.50. So we've established the technology. The silver carbon anode is real. It is superior, and it is coming. But now we have to answer the terrifying question, is there enough silver if every car company switches to this tech? If solar keeps growing? If investment demand continues? Do the numbers add up? In part 2 of this deep dive, I'm going to run the math of extinction. I'm going to calculate exactly how fast the global reserves hit zero under the Samsung scenario. I'm going to show you why the recycling myth won't save us. And I'm going to compare this setup to the 1980 spike to show you why $100 silver is actually a conservative target. Friday's drop was a gift. It was the system giving you one last chance to front run the biggest industrial shift in history. The banks are looking at the weekly chart.
Yeah, so this is Ezekiel chapter 38. And read the subtitle. This is right here. It's this is Tyrus. Tyrus, king overthrown. Right, basically should have been kingdom overthrown. It just says king overthrown, but yeah, he's a king that's got overthrown. His kingdom overthrown, which is a another spiritual aspect of America, or Esau Edom, which is here in the West, in America, right? So I'm just gonna skip down, try to get to the point, because this to break it's long, but I'm gonna try to make it shorter as I can possibly do. So this is Ezekiel chapter 38 and 13. It says, "Thus has been in Eden," right? Meaning paradise, right? Esau Edom is in his rulership. He's ruling the earth. He's in paradise. He get the fatness of the earth. He has gotten the fatness of the earth by the sword, right? The garden of the power, right? Because really the Most High owns the world, but this guy runs to and fro as if he's the one who owns it, when he's just a steward, and a steward is just a landlord. But you have the people who take advantage of their position as if they're the owner. Like, you ever have an apartment and the landlord walks around like he's the owner of it, and like up and down you swear this guy's the owner, and then they come to find out he's just the landlord. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not to say that whoever the person is didn't give him a slight bit of authority, but you're taking it as you're walking around like you're the owner. That's crazy, right? And then that's when power get abused, right? Because they tell you, which I believe is true. You know, power corrupts, right? And absolute power corrupts absolutely, especially when you're dealing with the flesh, right? The flesh, especially for us, because our flesh is weak, but the spirit is willing. Like, we're willing it's a part of us that's capable of being righteous, but you're dealing with brute beast who don't have a power. They don't have the Most High, right? It says every precious stone, right, was covered, because you got the you got the different, the earth basically in itself, and eventually people got they find a little bit of gold or silver, and then they make gold mines, silver mines, diamond mine, all these different things, ways to find out where these precious stones and jewels and precious minerals come from, right? Yeah, I'm a same chapter, just go up, to chapter 3. I mean verse 3, Salakia. Chapter 28, and then I'm going to verse 3. Says, "Behold," which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention. "Thou art wiser than Daniel," being Esau Edom. They these different ways that they've used their technology to conquer different places, and then of course they're in tune with Satan. They're truly that's wisdom on the left hand side. They are wiser than Daniel, right? Being to the world, because Daniel was like a scientist too. Daniel knew, like the periodic table, and he knew things. You know what I mean? He wouldn't, Daniel was very in tune with a lot of things, right? And through Esau's scientists and their witchcraft, they're in tune with the earth as well. That's why it says there, "You are wiser, thou art wiser than Daniel." There is no secret. There's no secret that can be hidden. Which what is it hid by? Some of it's hid by the earth, right? And so they have these archaeological digs. They have these mining excavations and things, and they dig out the gold, the silver. They even dig up, ancient history. So being that they have all this different of these archaeological finds, it makes them wiser, because there's things that Daniel didn't know. You know what I mean? He didn't have the ability to go dig up, uh, these different the what is it Pharaoh's Pharaoh and his military, and be able to bring their chariots and things up from the Red Sea, from the what's it called, the Gulf of Suez, right? They weren't able to do that. You got they have submarines where these pirates and even Esau, who was bringing slaves back and forth, end up sinking, and they were able to dig down there and dive and pull out these secrets. It says with thy wisdom, right? Because they have the Temanites, the Project Paperclip, where they separated some of the scientists, German scientists, to Russia, and to America, and of course they had the Sputnik, and basically Russia really beat them, but America beats them at being the devil, because they came up with the lie saying that they made it to the moon, and of course the world believed them, because they have the propaganda machine, which is the newspapers, the articles, the movies, all these different things that they for propaganda, to push the narrative, right? It says, with thy wisdom and with thy understanding, thus has gotten the riches, right? Like I said, different excavations, different this, basically invading other nations, right? Getting it by the sword, and has gotten gold and silver unto thy treasures. It says, by great wisdom and by thy traffic, right? And that's just trading. And so now the trading market is about to go in a tizzy. It's about to go it's about to go haywire because of this battery. And this is pretty much because they're hell bent on bringing in these EV cars, right? Which obviously something would tell you to leave it alone. The batteries are super expensive to buy, right? And then of course you've seen the thing, I forgot the name of it, but it gets corroded and they explode. But the only thing that stops it from corroding is the silver, which is going to make it super expensive. But they're hell bent on making gasoline cars illegal, which they're cheaper, efficient. They've been working for over 100 years. But see, they're trying to fix what's not broken in order to put you under this digital slavery. You know what I mean? So you can't go about your own business. You know what I mean? So you don't have control over your vehicle, right? They want to be able to reroute you, like well, there's two movies. You had the Minority Report, which that's why I never liked the autonomous cars, because I watched that Minority Report. The guy was supposed to be, which was Tom Cruise. I forgot his character name, but he was trying to run from the police, and he was going this way, and then the car turned and was going backwards because they were controlling it. And that's one thing they could be able to do with these autonomous. You get into that Waymo, and they could deliver that thing right to the police station or drive it off a cliff while you're in there, because it you know what I mean. And now it's a free accident, which they kind of show you that in that new Naked Gun, right? But you people are you like to fall into these traps, and it's and so so now they're in this it's going to send a great race as far as creating these batteries for trade, for commerce, for goods, has thus increased thy riches, and thy heart is lifted up because of thy riches, right? And so this is going to make them far more richer. So yeah, you know what? Let's make gasoline cars, which are cheaper and efficient, and they've been working for him. Let's make those illegal, and let's bring in this, so it's going to make us a lot more money. We're going to get AI to build it, and we're going to charge the people so they'll never be able to pay it off. And they're just going to just keep paying us and paying us, paying it, and we're just going to be rich. They'll never own anything. Yeah, that's a great idea. And that's this is like their great idea, you know? And they're proud because of it. It says, therefore, thus saith Yahawah, BaHaSham, Yahawashi, BaHaSham, QaDash, because thus has set in thy heart as the heart of the power. So yeah, and that's another thing. They're just in their mind, they're saying they're God. They need to have control over your entire life, right? Yeah, so this is coming back here to the, Ezekiel 28 and 13. Sartius, yeah, topaz and diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, and the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and the gold, the workmanship of the tabrets, and of the pipes was prepared in the day that thou was created, right? Because he was meant to get the fatness of the earth by the sword, right? And that's how you create it. As soon as you were able to create the Illuminati, these are things you set out for to do, to conquer, to go through the earth and obtain these things, right? And basically put it under your possession, under your power, right? It says, thus are an appointed cherub, right? Because it is your position to do that, right? You're appointed to be the wicked, to be the one who to rule at the end, in the time that Yahawashi, when he returned, you will be in rulership. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and prove that. Yeah, so this is Second Ezra chapter 6 verse 8, and he said unto me, which is speaking of the angel, speaking to Ezra, which is coming from the Most High, relaying the message of the Most High, which angels also means what? Messenger, right? So he's giving forth the message of the Most High, right? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, right? See, and that's the key thing. From Isaac, right? From Abraham to Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born, right? Showing you that the lineage went from Abraham, Isaac. There's no heathen in there, right? Because even when Esau is the brother of Jacob, look what it says, right? Right? Was born of him. Jacob's hand held fast the heel of Esau. So this is it was symbolic. I mean, it was something literal. He actually literally had his heel within his hands, right? But it's symbolic, right? Also into pulling down a kingdom, right? Just like it was saying about Tyrese King, the overthrow, right? Tyrese King overthrow, but it should be kingdom overthrow, right? Overthrowing the kingdom from Esau. For Esau is the end of the world. See, the overthrow of Esau's kingdom, right? And your Tyrus is another form or spiritual way of speaking of Esau, of basically of America, For Esau's the end of the world, and Jacob, right, which is Israelites, right? Because his name, it was no longer called Jacob, it was called Yasharallah, right? He prince of power, right? It's basically sons of God, right? That's what they are. Is the beginning of it that follow us, see? And that's who's going to be ruling when Yahawashi comes back. See, the hand of a man is betwixt the hill, betwixt the hill and the hand, right? And the hand, and betwixt the hill, it represents a shifting, a power, the hand pulling back that foot, shifting the momentum and bringing down Esau, right? He's the end of the world. Other questions Ezra asked us not, right? Yeah, so this is Job chapter 9, verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, and where and who is he? Right, being that the last ruler of the earth, saying that this guy would be ruling, which we just read in Second Ezra chapter 6, 8 on down, that Esau would be ruling, but his world is coming to an end, right? So the wicked is in rulership, right? This is Malachi chapter 1, verse 4 says, wherefore, whereas Edom, right, which is the descendants of Esau, right, saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places, right? Because what? The earth is given into the hands of the wicked, right? There was a Rome, the one with the deadly wound that was healed. They returned and had built the desolate places, had got the world, the fatness of the earth by the sword all over again. And this time the entire world, all four corners of the earth, right? Which is right where we need to be at as far as the time for Yahawashi to come back. So it's the entire habited earth, Orcamene, right? Because then now he can't say, well, Lord, you said I was gonna, because in the time of the Romans, I mean, he did have a big portion of the earth and he ruled, but it wasn't the entire earth, right? And he could easily be trying to supplant the Lord and go, well, Lord, you said I'm gonna rule the entire earth. So the Lord let things go on a lot longer. And then not to mention prophecies had to be fulfilled because what? Judah and Ephraim, or the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, had to go on slavery on ships. They had to be scattered around the world on ships, right? The Lord said that there were going to be a great number of Judah amongst all the tribes. There's going to be a great number of the Levites amongst all the tribes. You can't have that unless this transatlantic slave trade happens, right? You know, so all these things had to be fulfilled, right? So it says, what was that? Yeah, they're going to return and build, the desolate places, and that's what it is. Rome with the deadly wound that was healed, they have returned. So thus saith Yahawah, BaHaSham, Yahawashi of hosts, right? Hosts meaning armies. They shall build, but I will throw down. And that's going to be the last time, which is basically the symbolatry of Jacob's hand holding the hill of Esau, right? Which is talking about the Edomites, which are talking about the Jacobites or the Israelites in the fourth corner of the earth, right? In America, Babylon the Great, the daughter of Babylon, right? The descendants of Jacob or Israel, Yasharallah, against the descendants of Esau, which is Edom, and pulling them down, right? And I will throw down, and they shall call them what? The border of wickedness, right? Showing that the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. You're going to call them the border of wickedness, right? And the people against whom Yahawah, BaHaSham, Yahawashi, BaHaSham, QaDash, haveth indignation, which is righteous anger, forever. So there's no heathen that can get in, right? And especially an Edomite, but no heathen can get in, right? Unless you look like an Edomite, but your bloodline goes back to Israel, and you come back to the fold, via through the Holy Spirit, and that's the only way, Yeah, coming back here to this Ezekiel 28:14. Right, so that's basically, that was the point. He was the appointed cherub, is appointed to this time. This is the time that the one with the deadly wound that was healed have returned and built the desolate places as in rulership. and then is about to be, about to be taken down, taken out of rulership, right? And that's basically to continue on. And thus art an appointed cherub that covereth, and have set I have set thee so thou, right, because the earth is given to the hands of the wicked. So the Lord has set you as to rule over the earth, or way actually really to be the steward over the earth, not to rule over it, but I guess so, so to speak. But but the thing is, you think you're God, right? You're not supposed to rule it as if you're God. You're supposed to rule it as you're just a landlord. You rule it like, hey, look, I don't own the earth, but this and that, this is how it's meant to be. These are the statutes, the commandments, but you don't go by that. You make your own rule. You do your own thing, right? And I have set thee so, thus was upon the holy mountain of the power, right? You were in the land of Israel, ruling, doing your thing, doing all sorts of false flag events and pink parades and kosher cigarettes and kosher swine and all these different mind manipulations, videos, movies, being able to try to be able to control the narratives, the minds of the people, right? Thus has walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire, right? Yeah, it's going through the earth, right? There are volcanoes and things like that, right? So this is but they're says thou wilt was perfect in the way from the day that thus was created till till iniquity was found in thee, right? And that's ultimately what it was, because what was going back to Lakia, going back to when you were Cain, right? You initially came from the righteous seed, right? Came from Adam, which was Yahawashi, right? So then you did again, came from the righteous seed, which was Isaac, which was Yahawashi. But as Cain, you slew Abel. As Jacob, as Esau wanted to kill Jacob because you sold your birthright unto Jacob, right? You're a profane person, such as Esau, who sold your birthright, right? You were perfect, right? Because you came from you actually literally legitimately came from a perfect lineage, right? But then you went off. Iniquity was found in you, right? Now you're just a bunch of Edomites, right? Just the border of wickedness. You were blameless. Yeah, you were. Yeah. When before Cain slew Abel, before Cain gave a false sacrifice, because it couldn't have been just because there had to be more accounts, because that's part of our customs to give sacrifice. So you had to give a sacrifice every day for the last, because you got to think they lived 900 years, whatever. Methuselah, like one of the ones that lived 900 years besides Adam, right? So, you can't tell me, Adam didn't teach Cain the sacrifice. And if you're big enough and strong enough and man enough to kill your brother, you're up in age. Wasn't like you were a little kid, right? So you knew how to give a sacrifice, but you gave the sacrifice you wanted to get until iniquity was found in you, right? You were perfect, blameless, right? Even you were taught the ways that you were supposed to be at when you were Esau, right? As Esau, do not marry the Canaanite women. Do not do this. Do not do. The first thing you do is go marry a Canaanite woman. The first thing you do is sell your birthright, marry a Canaanite woman. Everything opposite of what you should have done, right? But at one point in time, before you did these things, you were what? You're blameless. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created until righteousness and evil were until righteousness and evil were found in you. Ooh, that's crazy. Right, that is crazy. Cause that's almost like giving the whole thing with the Garden of Eden, right? Because that's basically what they told them to do, to bite the forbidden fruit. But then that wouldn't be you, because you would be just completely wicked, right? But I guess so. I guess Esau does some good things, but it's all to do wicked. You know what I mean? Even like the scriptures say, if he do wicked, he do it unwillingly, right? And that's you. If you do good, you do it unwillingly. I think this is the point. Yeah, I think this is the point, because I'm like, man, where's my point? I'm getting wrapped up in this. This is good. It says, by the multitude of thy merchandise, right? See, and that's what they're about to do. They get wrapped up in this whole thing of trading and selling these cars and all the industries and how the fluctuation of the stock market is going to be impacted, and you're going to do all this trading and the values, things that they're going to really need or what they think they need, right? They have filled the midst of thee with violency, and that's ultimately what's going to happen. That's going to bring forth what? Violence, war. People, it's going to end up bringing war, because silver is going to be such a high commodity. It's going to bring forth violence, war, right? All the so-called make these EV cars, which are too expensive. It's just ridiculous. And then you have to charge it, and it's a hassle instead of just using, the gasoline, right? And there's a whole bunch of alternative to gasoline. You could use the corn, right? Because you can use corn to make it. Forgot what it's called. I don't know if it's ethanol. The corn. You use the corn to make the ethanol, I believe, and that actually burns cleaner, right? The little Jake, he was showing how you could take the old plastic, and reverse engineer it back into oil, to gas. You could do that. That would save a lot of money. That would save even the planet. That's like actually recycling, instead of put all those plastics that it takes a very long time to biodegrade within the earth, hurting the earth. You can actually benefit the earth and then burn it. It'll burn through. Once you reverse engineer it, it'll burn into the atmosphere. The trees will clean it up, and everything is good. But hey, you don't want that. You're hell bent on this EV, which I believe is gonna just cause violence. In the midst of thee with violence, and thus has sinned. Therefore, I will cast thee as a profane. Yep, see, and that's what it is. A profane. You sold your birthright. You're profane, right? Cast thee as profane out of the mountain of the power, right? You're going to be no longer ruling over the earth, right? Right? Because it's basically Eden, paradise. You're ruling over the earth. You're ruling over God's mountains, right? From Fiji to Mount Kilimanjaro, whatever it is, and whatever mountain is in Hawaii, or whatever mountain that's everywhere, this is all really the Most High's mountain, the earth, Eden, paradise. This really belongs to the Most High. So you're going to get put out. Yeah, you're going to, and I will destroy thee over covering cherub, right? You've been covering the earth with your military, all sorts of things, your technology, right? Your satellites, putting fear in all sorts of people, digging up treasures, right? Excavating and digging up treasures and conquering people and doing all these different things by the sword, getting the fatness of the earth. But now you're about to get cut off. Cherub from the mist of the stones of fire, right? And that's what's going to happen, man. The volcanoes are going to erupt. ICBM missiles are going to be shot. And just like when the time of Noah, was it water? Water came up from the ground and water came down from heaven. So it's going to be lava, fire coming up from the earth, from the ground, which is lava. And then it's going to be raining fire from the missiles and also the chariots. The what they call UFOs or UAPs, which are really the vehicles of Yahawashi, which are angels, the war angels, man. Right? Yeah, so this is James chapter 5, verse 2. It says, your riches are corrupt. Right? Yeah, and they corrupt they corrupt your decisions, right? Because a lot of times they make decisions on greed. Even that guy was saying that. He said they might try to use like a silver base thing, trying to cut back on the silver so they could try to save money, but then it's not going to work. So they're going to have no choice but to use the actual silver, which leads into them being corrupt, to where they're really going to go into a hyperdrive into policing the people, saying you can have nothing, because guess what? They know that a bunch of people bought silver, right? You bought silver, you bought gold, thinking you will be able to try to battle inflation and things like that. But they're going to send the military to your home to take the gold and the silver that you have. They're corrupt, right? Yep, and going into the draconian measures, they're going to show you that they're corrupt, and your garments moth eaten, right? That whole cloak of being the home of the free, the land of the brave, that cloak is moth eaten, right? The lies that they have are moth eaten, right? Because people are starting to see through the lies that's been told. Everybody's starting to see everything that they've ever been taught, everything that they ever learned is a lie. So that people are starting to wake up, man. They're going to have to come down with these draconian measures, most likely a lot faster and a lot harder, right? Your gold and your silver, right? Since this thing is about silver, right, is cankered, right? And this thing is going to canker things, it's going to basically, sort of speak, muddy up the water. It's going to make things not foreseeable as the future as you thought you were going to see the future, because most likely it's going to be this thing. I can see this drawing this thing out to wars. You got to think of how much that would be worth. Each car, basically what that guy was saying, of how much silver they would have to use in order to make that battery. And then if you're the one who develop it and you develop the right one, all the other countries or all the other places have to either steal your design and pay you out, which they already said Samsung has already came up with it. But this is this thing is going to cut alliances and things like that, right? I can see. Matter of fact, let's see what it says right here for cankered.
Strong's G 2728. Katiao.
To rust over, and rust ain't good, right? Because when things are rusting over, that means it's gonna start breaking down. It weakens. It starts to get weakened, right? Through the rust, cover with rust, right? Right. It starts the basically like the decaying factor, right? Down, throw out, According to, yeah, not known that one. Let's go back to the other one, see if this one got.
Strong's G 2447. Iyas.
Yeah, see, yeah, there you go. Yeah, see, poison. See, yeah, it's basically, yeah, it's gonna cause poison within between these different countries, which may speed up World War III in the coming months. Lord willing, because that's what the hope is, that we're out of here, right? So the Lord said that He's going to speed up the time. So Lord willing, this be something that speeds up World War III. They go into this thing, and it'll be like a poison to the thing that they're trying to do, right? And then not to mention, a lot of people are waking up. It's gonna put a thing in it, because it speaks about. Matter of fact, it speaks about them holding back the money by fraud, which goes into that Amal, right? The hands of the wicked, right? Right, because people are starting to see, they're starting to see through your lies. Yeah, it's corrupted, right? It's moth eaten. See through your lies. You don't got that. What's it called? He said they would have a cloak for this, and yeah, that cloak is moth eaten. You're not able to hide, right? So they're gonna have to come down with wrath, knowing that they have but a short time. Right? It says poison of an asp, which is a snake, which is a cobra, actually, not just a regular. It's a cobra, which is highly poisonous, under their tongue, right? So they're gonna be speaking of these different things and wars and this and that, how to make the poor and the rich, right? Spoken of men given to reviling, right? Let's see what that word reviling means. Oops, lucky. Reviling. Revile, right? Criticize in an abusive or angrily insulting manner, right? So this thing is gonna cause what? People to be fighting, the citizens, but also the rich. The Lord said that their houses are going to be divided, right? If Satan fights against Satan, his house cannot stand. So all this money of how much silver is about to be worth is going to cause fighting, right? Yeah, let's come back here, go on this, and calumniating, right? Calumniating. Let's go into that. Definitely need to know the definition of that. That's not something you say every day. Calumniate. Right? Calumniate. Let's see.
Gerund or present participle. Calumniatin.
Gerund or partium. Calumniatable. Oh, I still don't know what that means. Is there any Oh yeah, there we go. To make false
and defamatory statements about.
Yeah, to make false and defamatory statements about a country, about the citizens, about all sorts of things. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be a lot of these countries are going to be fighting against each other. Maybe even the rich, even Donald Trump's cabinet, will be fighting against each other. You're going to have all these different things. You got the citizens, civil wars. You're going to have all these different things behind this thing, because it's really going to be, inflammatory. What is it? Inflammatory, right? Making deflammatory. Yeah, it's going to be deflammatory. Yeah, rust. It's going to cause arguments, fighting, right? And thereby injuring others. See, people are going to be. It's going to cause quite a ruckus, right, behind this, which is going to probably turn the dollar upside down, which they're going to be able to crash the dollar because of, see, And this could be a good excuse to why the dollar crash. Why you have to bring in the digital dollar. This could be a good reason to bring in the digital dollar, right? So they could be bringing in the digital dollar this year. Now, what are you going to do when you're stacking up your money? Your money ain't going to mean nothing when everything goes digital, right? That's what that means, right? So it's a cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, right? Because it's going to be basic, yeah. It's going to cause civil war, race wars, actual wars, right? And shall eat your flesh as it were fire, right? Yeah, World War III. The ICBM missiles are going to hit America, and it's going to eat the flesh. In fact, that tells you that in Revelation 17, right? Oh, there you go. Slucky. Revelation 17, verse 16. And the 10 horns which thus sawest upon the beast, which is talking about NATO, right? And the whore is America. It says upon the beast, which is NATO, these shall hate the whore, right? Because they're going through things that they could be paying a lot cheaper. Mercedes, BMW was making tons and tons of money, but they had to give all their money away to fund the war in Ukraine, also to buy alternate fuel and gas and heating from America, which costed a lot more when they could have got it from Russia for a lot cheaper, which ultimately allowed them to have such a great industry, right? And they went from one of the wealthiest countries in Europe to the poorest. Like, I think they like the poorest country in Europe now, right? Because of this war, right? And because of the what's it called, the Gulf Stream, or the pipe, the Gulf Stream, the thing that went from Russia to over there to help them get their gas, right? The MI6 and the Black Ops and whatever, they went down there and blew it up, right? Allegedly, right? So it says these shall hate the whore, which is America, and shall make her desolate and naked, right? Exposed. So now the lies, everything is pulled off. And you ain't even covered up with a moth-eaten garment. It's going to be completely off of you. Just play her out naked, knowing everything, right? And shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. And that's the ICBM missiles. That's World War III, right? Yeah, come back here. This is James chapter 5, verse 3. I'm just finishing back up. Yeah, and this is the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped up treasure together for the last days, right? And we're in the last days. So they got these highly technological safes, that has the right type of temperature for the gold and for the silver and for the different things, which is really set apart for the elect, right? Really for the nation of Israel, but starting with the elect. They have different treasures and things going all the way back, right? Remember, money's not lost. True money's not lost. It's just transferred, right? And so all the wealth of the heathen are going to be transferred to the elect, which ultimately is going to be for the nation of Israel, right? Starting with Yahawashi and King David, right? And it says, you have stored up your treasures in the last days. This is where we're at, when it will do you no good. See, Because ultimately what? They're going down. The Lord's taking their kingdom from them. Right? Behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention, which right here says, look, the wage that you have fraudulently withheld from the laborers who you mauled, Salakia. Mowed, yeah, they mowed it down. Who mowed your fields, right? Who mowed your fields and are crying against you for vengeance, right? And vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, Yahawah. BaHaSham Yahawashi, he's coming with the vengeance. And the cries of the harvesters have come to the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, which means armies, right? It says, behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, right? The money system, the different things, how they tax you, how they give you interest, they hold back by fraud, and then not to mention they take your paycheck, which they're supposed to pay you every day. They're not supposed to hold your money for 2 or 3 days, right? Matter of fact, Apostle Hart said that it goes into the law. It says when you if you hold a man's money, it's in the law. If you hold a man's money, it's as if you killed him. Well, that's another reason why this place has to be destroyed, because the wages of sin, especially that type of sin, the penalty for death or for killing someone is that you have to be killed. It's not like you just pay him back a thing, but if you kill the man, you must be killed. If you kill his beast, you must return to him 2 beasts, or you know what I mean, double the amount of beasts that you killed. But you can never pay back a man's life, so you have to be killed. So if you kept back a man's money by fraud, and the Lord said that's basically as if you killed him, that's another reason why this place has to go. There's many reasons why America has to go, right? And you elites, starting with the Rawchaa's, the Bilderbergs, the DuPonts, the Gettys, the Oppenheimers, the Gettys. You all have to go because you kept back that money by fraud. And the Lord can't have it, man. He can't. You know what I mean? You're not going to go unpunished, right? Kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them have reached, which have reaped, are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, which means of wars, armies, right? And the Lord's coming with an army to take you down with the angels. It says, ye have lived in pleasure on earth, right? Speaking about the Getty, the Oppenheimers, the DuPonts, all you elites, man. And been wanton, right? Undisciplined, right? Ye have nourished your hearts as in the day of slaughter, right? Yeah, you undisciplined and you're doing things backwards. The Lord is coming to make war with you. You don't take on more money and more things and become more they're becoming more greedy, you know what I mean? They want more money. They want more things, you know what I mean? They want more of the pleasures of the world, right? And you've had them all, right? Why take it to the point that no one can have you? You will own nothing, but you will be happy. Like, that is crazy. That is absolutely cynical. It says on the earth you have lived luxuriously and abandoned yourselves to soft living, right? Because really, if you're going to be a leader of the people, you must live amongst the people and live like the people, right? And then you can understand what the people go through. Think about it. Yahawashi, when he came, he lived amongst the people. He lived with the people. He could see the compassion. That's why he had the compassion upon them. Look at them. They're lost without a shepherd. They needed a shepherd. But your thing is, hey, you're trying to be as God, but then you're not, because God, the Lord, the Father, through the only begotten Son, has compassion upon the people, even these other nations, the actual heathens, to work your 1,000 years, and then the Lord still give you your land. He's not gonna just make you a perpetual slave, which he could. We live forever. We're gonna live forever. We could literally make you a perpetual slave forever if the Lord wants to. But he's gonna give them their land, right? And then like Apostle Hart said, he's speaking as a man, but it only makes sense, right? If a spirit is forever, a spirit can't die, and it's forever. It makes sense that the Lord would divvy up the Edomite spirit throughout the other nations. It makes sense. Not saying what it is, because you're not trying to cross the line, but being a spiritual man, it makes sense that coming from a spiritual man, and then it does make sense, right? What the Lord going to do with them dudes still in heaven, chilling, living better than us? Because they don't have to eat or sleep, anything. They'll be in the fourth dimension. Nah, that can't happen. No, you know. But that's mercy, man. But you devils have no mercy, and you just want to live more fat, more luxurious, soft living, and led a life of wanton, undisciplined, right? Pleasure, self-indulgence, self-gratification. You have fattened your hearts in the day of slaughter, right? And really, the Lord's coming to take you out of power. You ain't supposed to be in the mind state of fattening yourself, trying to live more comfortable. The Lord's about to take, but I get it too, You got the technology, you got the thing, you like, I'm God. I'm doing this thing, right? But it says, last verse says, you have condemned and killed the just, and he doeth not resist you. Right? You know what I mean? Jake is a plain man dwelling in tent. Jake don't want much out of life, right? You have if you have a decent wage to live a decent, because they're talking about 6-figure men and this and that now, but make it a life where there's no wage to have a house and have a thing. You know what people be looking for? The man who can actually, it'll go back to basically like it did back in the day. The man who can actually build you a house, right? A woman ain't looking for a 6-figure man in that time. She's looking for a man who can actually build her house, right? But you set the standard, you set the things as the king is, or the ruler, so are the people. You're corrupt, so the people are corrupt. They have corrupt mentality, right? You have condemned and put to death the righteous man. He offers you no resistance. Yeah, because Jake is saying, hey, look, just treat us how you treat yourselves. Judge us with a just balance, and we okay. But see, the whole thing is the Lord's not okay with that, right? Judgment is going to have to come. You're going to have to be removed out of power, right? Yeah, this is Isaiah chapter 14, verse 3. It says, and it shall come to pass in the day that Yahawah, BaHaSham, Yahawashi, BaHaSham, Rawchaa, QaDash shall give thee rest, and it shall be in the day that the Lord give you rest from your pain and toil, right? Yeah, all that working, right? You're working and all you do is work to pay bills. That's not for you. You're an Israelite. You know what I mean? We're meant to be in rulership, man. We're not here to just work and pay bills, right? We're not here just to be in servitude and slavery under this devil, right? Because that's ultimately what that is, And from the harsh service which ye have been enslaved. Yeah, see? Yeah, perfectly. Yeah, see? Perfect. Because that's what it is. You're just toiling. You're working to be a slave, right? You work to pay bills, which make you a slave, or you're just here to just exist, to be in the universal basic income, to have nothing, and then you get to ride your bike 15 minutes to the store, and then ride it back home, and then you can go 15 minutes to maybe to the library or something next day. But then they tell you what you can read. They tell you how far you can go or when you can go. You're gonna be in a digital prison. You have to be told when you can go here. You can go to the store here. You can go here. You can do this. You're gonna be told what you can do and where you to go. Right? Total no freedom. You're gonna be enslaved all over again. And this is not even with the yoke of iron upon your neck, right? Because this is where you were brought into slavery, on ships, right? You so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. Now, a lot of you Native Indians and you so-called Mexicans and things in Puerto Rico, you weren't brought here, but you were taken from here with those same ships, right? You know, and you're meant to serve the same bondage, right? In the place that we were be oppressed together, right? And that's where we're at. But the Lord is going to cause that to cease, to stop, to give us rest. Right? This is and it shall come to pass in that day when Yahawah BaHaSham Yahawashi shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear. Right? And that's a big one, right? The fear is big. You want rest from fear, right? Because fear is it's a thing that blocks blessings, right? And in fear, hey, that's where Jake dies early, man. Every time a cop pull behind you, you get in fear. You get in an argument with your lady. You get to you fear. Hey, you might end up getting in trouble and go to jail because you having a domestic event, which happens. You get into one other Jake. The Jake might smoke you, bro. He might pull out his blicky, right? What they call it, right? It's crazy. You're always in constant fear in America. On this side, you know what I mean? You need rest. You don't need to fear. Like fear from the hard bondage, right, which is slavery, wherein thus was made to serve, right, which the Lord brought us into this, that we had to serve this devil, man. But he's gonna lift it up, which makes sense. He's the one that put us in it. He's the one that's gonna take us out of it, starting with Yahawashi, right? Yahawashi, King David, the 12, the 144,000. Hey, man, we're gonna be in good case, man. Lord willing. Be part of that number, and that thus shall take up, so like a parable, it says, a taunting against the king of Babylon, saying, how the oppressor have ceased, how have the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased, right? And that's what Trump is talking about. He the golden age, right? Which the Fortune 500, these, all the way to these, the Bilderbergs, the DuPonts, the Gettys, the Oppenheimers, these rich, these elites, the Rockefellers, these top elites, they're getting richer and we're getting poorer, and that to them that's the golden age, right? So it's going to cease. Matter of fact, let's just one more, and then I'm going to close out. It says, Yahawah has broken the staff, right? We're taking you out of your rulership, right? Broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers, right? See? And it's about to take you out your rulership. Yahawah has broken the staff of the wicked, the scepter of the ruler, scepter of the, how do you say that?
Tyrant.
Tyrant. Oh, nice. Yeah. Because that's what you are. That's what you have been. You've been a tyrant to the world, really. Not just to Jake, but to the world. Yeah. So you've been. The Lord's going to take the scepter from the tyrant, and the tyrant is be evil. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked, right? Matter of fact, let's look up that word tyrant, because a tyrant ain't good. A tyrant is someone evil, right?
Tyrant.
A cruel and oppressive ruler, right? That's an evil person. To be a cruel and oppressive leader, a ruler.
Dictator.
Yeah, a dictator. And that's what you're about to go into. The draconian laws, draconian measures.
Despot.
Despot, yeah.
Autocrat.
Autocrat, yeah. You about to put this shit on autopilot. Yeah, you about to just start just decimating people.
Authoritarian.
Yeah, exactly. You about to be authoritarian. What? Oppressor, right? So with all that, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahawah, BaHaSham, Yahawashi, BaHaSham, Rawchaa QaDash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well, to the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, shalom to the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom to your sisters Yahawashi who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence, and the Baba Ball, and Kwam Yasharallah.